We had some foul trouble, and some of those were silly fouls, and it's my job to make sure that we're more disciplined than we were.
Questions right here on the aisle on the right.
Bob Holliday, WRL.com. Coach, you had a 13-point lead, then they went on a 24 run. What were the factors in that other than Joel Berry being on the bench with 4?
Well, I think our offense stopped moving a little bit. They picked us up a little bit in the backcourt. We wasted some time in the backcourt getting it down, and we really did stop moving. And when we had shots, if I remember a couple of them, I think we rushed them a little bit, forced them a little bit. I mean, guys, we shoot 56% in the first half and 28% in the second half. And we shoot 28% in the second half. They shoot 59% because they got better movement, better screens, better shots than we did.
On the aisle again on the left.
Coach, Norm Canada from the Journal in Seneca. You went about 8 to 10 minutes without Barry in the lineup. It appeared Nate was playing pretty confidently, but not having your team leader on the floor, how much of an effect does that have? Well,
it had an effect, but that takes away from what Duke did. I really believe that. I don't want to use any excuses. North Carolina was still playing Duke, and Nate did some good things. And for us, our whole offense got stagnant, and our whole defense was bad. I mean, we'd run off a guy and then leave a wide-open three-point shooter in the corner a couple of times, so you can't do those kind of things. Can I ask a favor for you guys? If you've got any questions for the players, let's ask them now so we can let them go back and dress and the whole bit. I'm not changing clothes, so if you've got any questions for the players, if not, let's let them go back. Anybody got any questions for the players? Thank you.
Right
Tyler Greenewald, Yahoo Sports. This is for Isaiah. What changed offensively for you guys in the second half? You guys were pounding the paint in the first. Second, it seemed like Duke was just stopping you. What changed in the second half to sort of change the offense?
As Coach said, we stopped moving. That really made the difference in our offense.
Right here in the aisle in the front.
It's a question for Nate. Duke has struggled to defend the two-point shot at times this year. Coach Krzyzewski's not been pleased with their field goal percentage defense, but they've been very good at defending the three-point shot, and they were tonight. When you're beyond the arc, what do you see from them defensively that makes it harder to get a three against them sometimes than a two?
Well, Duke likes to take three-point shots on the offensive end, so I feel like they do a very good job of defending it. Duke often tries to shoot threes off of offensive rebounds, so they do a great job of defending that. And they just apply a lot of ball pressure on the perimeter, which we try to take advantage of and try to get in the paint.
Any more questions for the student athletes? Okay, thanks, guys.
Yeah, you guys can go.
Right here on the row on the left, third row.
Hey, Roy, I'm sorry if this sounds impolite, but they outscored you 13-2 in under 4 minutes and before you got around to calling a timeout. Do you think you missed one there?
And it's not impolite. I've had people who said I don't call timeouts my whole life, but we've won some games, and it's the way we do it. I always think that that's what we practice for. We practice every day being able to play without me calling them over and say I love you and sing Kumbaya and all that BS. I did say BS today. I'm better than I was yesterday. Somebody could say that, but that's the way I've coached my whole life. And, again, that was nice of you to say impolite. I've had people say it my whole life. I'm dumb enough to think that if I die and I've got more timeouts left than anybody, I'll get something from it. But, there was a time there that I looked up, and in fact, I called a timeout when we got one, 30 seconds later kind of thing. But kids have to be able to handle adversity, and that's the reason we practice. And we've had some great comebacks when I've had timeouts left at the end. I've seen some games on TV yet this year that games were lost when coaches wished they had a timeout. I don't ever want to coach us out of a game. But that is the way we practice. We do it all the time. And, I'm too dumb, too stubborn, whatever. I'm not going to change for 29 years. I didn't let the guy get wide open for a three-point shot. What am I going to do? Okay.
Second row on the left.
Joseph Manganello, Watertown Daily Times. Spoiler, Jason Tatum's a pretty good athlete. He had a run there at the end of the first half that narrowed your lead going into the second. Yeah, how critical was that to ultimately do coming back?
Well, I don't think you can just point at any one part of the game. It was the whole game. Even talking about the timeout, that was part of it too. But, we talked about playing without fouling, and we talked about getting the ball inside. We take a quick three, we take a bad shot, they run out on the break because somebody doesn't get back, and then we foul the guy as he's laying it up. And that's not very smart. And we talked about those things a great deal, but I didn't do a good enough job with it. I really didn't. So.
Okay, on the aisle again.
Coach, I know it's Norm Canada from the Journal in Seneca. I know it's just after a disheartening loss, but you're still looked at as a #1 seed likely. What do you have to do to turn this around after such a tough loss to a big rival?
Well, right now it's best for me to stay away from my players because I'm ready to jump off the top of the building or something like that. So giving them some space. But I did tell them in the locker room, and it's true. My teams have taken me to 8 Final Fours. I've never taken a team, but my teams have taken me to 8 Final Fours. 6 of those times we lost in the semifinals of conference tournament. And 2 times last year being one of them that we won the conference tournament and still made the Final Four. There's a lot to still play for. I'm not trying to make anybody mad. Our final goal was not to win the ACC tournament. Our final goal was to play on the last Monday night and win the game there. I told them that after I said a couple of other things to them. But hopefully we'll get to be more disciplined and tougher and understand fouling hurts your team and all those things. And if we do that, then we've got a chance. I've had 2 players during those 6 times stand up in the locker room and say something to everybody else about we're good enough to make the Final Four if we just play. And one of them was dumb enough to say we're good enough to make a Final Four if we just do what he says, and he pointed at me, so he was pretty dumb. But I did give them that message, but right now I'm really ticked.
The third row over again on the left.
Roy Beresford from the Washington Post. Along those lines, over the years, how have you dealt with these kind of losses differently when you do have stuff ahead, but it's disappointing in the moment?
I try to, I don't think about suicide. If I ever jump off the top of the building and have it investigated because somebody pushed my rear end, okay, I understand that part, but it's disappointing because we didn't do what we asked to do. We didn't do what we'd practiced to do. We didn't do those kind of things. And then we were not tough enough. I mean, begging the officials, and every time a call's made, and, you throwing up your hands. Those are disgusting things to me. I mean, you can't always blame somebody else in life. You got to do a better job. I got to do a better job with my team. Right now it's difficult, but when we figure out the path that we're going to walk back home instead of riding a plane or a bus or anything, when we ever get back to Chapel Hill, I'll try to coach the heck out of them.
On the aisle right here on the right.
Coach Williams, Kiera Luck of Black Sports Online. Meeks was out for a significant amount of time. What was going through your mind of having him sit out for so long?
We've been trying to get Kennedy through, playing in short periods of time the whole season, and we need to give Tony some time as well. Kennedy's performance goes down drastically once he gets winded. His stamina's not as good as we would like for it to be. We've held him out of a bunch of practices because of a sore knee, but he's come to play. And last night he was defensive player of the game. I don't even know how many he scored tonight. He scored 19, but last night he was the defensive player of the game. So for us, it's the way we're trying to milk as much time out of him as we can, knowing that we had hoped to play 3 straight nights, and that's just the way we've done it all year.
Over here on the left on the aisle.
Tyler Greenwald, Yahoo Sports. Justin Jackson kind of faded towards the end of the game. He didn't shoot too well. What do you think changed, or what happened to him down the stretch in the second half?
These last 3 games, Justin hadn't been the player that he was before, and I think he's putting too much pressure on himself. I think he's trying to do too much and perhaps taking some shots that aren't quite as good. Tonight, he had 4 assists and really did some good things, but the shot didn't go in as much. But I think I've had a little talk with him. I've got to do some more because I think he is putting too much on himself. But at Virginia, Duke at home, Miami last night and tonight, probably in a 4-game stretch has been about as poorly as he shot the ball all year long. But I do think he's probably putting too much on himself.
Any more questions?
All right, guys, hear both of you, that was awfully nice. You felt like you were being mean by asking difficult questions, but that's 29 years of this stuff, I appreciate that. That's nice. Thank you.